Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is your State Representative Cary Condotta from the House of Representatives in Olympia. Well, we've been talking about budgets for several weeks now, and here it is in my hot little hands, the first budget to come out, the first full budget from the Senate, and it is quite interesting. It actually has some pretty amazing statistics in it. With this budget, education funding will have doubled in a decade. This means that we have put twice as much into education in just 10 years as we did before. Education investments will now be over 50% of the general budget. So 50% of the entire budget is around education, actually more than 50%. And this budget builds on a previous investment in K through 12 of over $4.6 billion. Point is, it's a lot of education. It's all focused on education, although it does protect the most vulnerable, including mental health services, making a down payment on additional mental health, and actually does a good job for foster children and folks with developmental disabilities. So it covers the most vulnerable people. It takes care of the education situation and total funding, but the most important part is no tax increases. It does it all with existing tax increases. It balances over 4 years, and the fact is that in the end, there is almost $2 billion in the rainy day fund when all is said and done. So that's a good thing, because this economic boom some folks are having in some parts of the state won't last forever, and we do need to have that cushion, particularly when we're getting to the numbers we're talking about. Now that's where I'm a little concerned. Even though this looks like it has its priorities correct and there is no new taxes, the total spending is $43 billion. Now, to put that in perspective, just back in 2005 we were at $23 billion. A few years before that, we were under $20 billion. It took over 100 years to get to $20 billion, and just 15 to 16 years later, we've almost doubled that. And by the way, this projects that the next budget, in order to sustain this budget, would be closer to $50 billion. Now, that's state money only. So take into account that we have matching federal funds. This could put our budget tipping up close to $100 billion, a budget that was around $46 billion total just 15 years ago. There is no measure of inflation, there is no measure of population, and frankly, no measure of need that says we should be spending those kind of dollars. So should we spend any more than this? No. And yet they call this the bare bones budget. This is bare bones at $43 billion? Wow. Now, the other part that has to be solved, this includes the Senate education proposal, okay? Now, we know that the House has their proposal. The House Republicans have a different proposal. There's 3 or 4 that are being negotiated. So this budget can't be completed until there's a decision on the McCleary fix, which is this education program in general. That is really the question right now. Can we come to terms with all 4 corners, including the governor, 5 corners? Can we come to terms on an education package? Because if we can, and we can plug it into this no new tax budget, I assume we can get out of here in 105 days or not too long after that. The problem is, if we don't agree on that McCleary fix, we could be here a while. And if the McCleary fix costs more than $1.8 billion, it blows a hole in the budget lid over $43 billion. Now that's a lot of numbers, but the bottom line is it's pretty expensive. We're going to start negotiating. We'll tell you more next week when the House introduces their budget, which I assume will be even bigger. This is Cary Condotta. We'll see you next week.